Well, Richard, thanks for blaming me for keeping everyone in here and not going to lunch. I appreciate that. Obviously, I've lived in Singapore now for, this is my 13th year, and if there's anything worse than keeping a Singapore audience in a room before lunch is keeping a Malaysian audience in a room before lunch. So I'll be very tidy with how we go through this. And again, Richard, thank you very much for the opportunity to come down and speak at this conference. I applaud all of you for getting involved. Obviously, the commercialisation of sport creates fantastic opportunities, but it also creates significant challenges. And we're all witness to that on a number of levels. Obviously, that commercialisation is massive, not only in this part of the world, but we look at it globally. With Repucom, and I'll get in and I'll touch on a few points there, but if we look at why is there a massive interest in sport? Through our research, there's 2.2 billion people interested in sport globally. What that means is for brands or sponsors to engage with their target market, they've got a very engaged consumer who's looking at sport and focusing on sport. So that's basically almost a third of the world's population. Illustrates very, very clearly why the commercialisation of sport is growing at a rapid rate. 20% of the largest European football clubs are sponsored by Middle Eastern airlines at the moment, if we look at that. Qatar Airlines, Emirates and Etihad. Over the last 5 years, shirt sponsorships by the Middle Eastern companies alone has increased by 6 times over the last 5 years. Investment from Asia as well into the US and well into Europe as sport. We look at Li Ning, Sony, Kia, Samsung, Yanmar, Chang, Singer, Lenovo, Kia, Kume Tires, Yokohama. There's massive investment. It is very, very popular. We look at individuals, wealthy individuals from this part of the world investing into sport globally. We look at Eric Tahir, the very wealthy Indonesian businessman who owns Inter Milan and DC United. We look at Peter Lim, who obviously owns Valencia and who's just recently appointed Gary Neville as the acting head coach. And we look at Vincent Tan, obviously from Malaysia, who has owned Cardiff. So there's a number of significant examples where we look at that commercialisation. My previous life before coming into Repucom, so like Richard said, I actually came to Asia playing football many years ago, so it's always nice to come back to Malaysia. I played for Sarawak in the early 2000s in the old M League, and it was at a time when sponsorship, well, there was only one sponsor, and that was Dunhill. They owned everything. And I remember all our playing kit, our training kit, our travelling kit. I had a Dunhill badge sponsored on my forehead. Obviously those times have changed a little bit. So from Malaysia, I then moved to Singapore to play. I had to retire because of injury. Was fortunate enough to begin in the media, which I'm still doing with Fox Sports. I finished my MBA and I actually went into banking also. So when we look at risk and compliance and governance, sitting in a room full of lawyers, I'm very, very aware of the importance of that. And we've got a good case study. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch on a couple of aspects about Repucom, who we are, to give a little bit of insight in relation to how we do help our clients. And then I'll touch on just a few case studies, and I'll just go through them pretty quickly, just to generally stimulate a little bit of thought about what rights holders, agencies and sponsors on a best practice level, what they're looking for. And obviously from that comes significant opportunities. So with Repucom, we have over 30 years experience through the acquisition of a number of countries around the world. We've got over 1,700 clients worldwide, over 1,400 employees, and we've got over 20 offices worldwide as well. So what we do is we are basically independent. We're independent research based. And for that, we're able to obviously assist our clients in maximising the commercial value of their operations, regardless if they're a professional club, a professional league, an association, or a sponsor looking at sponsoring certain sporting assets. So we look at that from basically a sport and entertainment point of view. What we do is we have a significant amount of data, lots and lots of data. And when I say that, we've got over 4,200,000 hours of sports recording per year. So we record games all over the world. That sits in our database. Interactions on social media, websites. We've got data around 100,000 brands and 130,000 sponsorship deals worldwide. We have over 500,000 interviews of people involved in the sport and entertainment space. This is in more than 40 countries worldwide. We have over 50 countries of metered audiences, over 5,500 of TV channels, and 200 countries and territories. So what does that mean? It means that through this data and through all this research, we're able to assist our clients in a very independent manner. That can be a brand who's looking at sponsoring whether it be Malaysian football or whether it be Chelsea Football Club. It can be rights holders who are sitting there trying to get sponsorship. They're not trying to create a proposition to get sponsorship. It could be the owner of an event, it could be a golf competition. We look at media companies who are obviously trying to understand the correct broadcast value, looking at music and entertainment, because sport is entertainment, and obviously blending in that is music. Government and tourism is another significant part of our business. Events, stadia and agencies. So it's quite nice to actually be up here because both Kenny and Sassy are clients and partners in a way where we've worked together previously. And it's going to be great to hear from both Kenny and Sassy and hear about the synergy within the commercial environment of sport and how it is quite unique and quite different. Here's just a couple of examples of the clients that we work with worldwide. Again, on the brand, rights holder, agency and media company side. So brands, you can see big brands there, Red Bull, P&G, Sony, MasterCard, rights holders. So we work with FIFA, we work with UEFA, work with the Football Association of Malaysia. We work with obviously a number of companies worldwide as well. Agencies, who are obviously acquiring those assets, your IMG, your Lagardère, your Group M, we work with them as well as media companies like ESPN and Fox and Astro in the region. So just moving on to simple case studies, and I've got a few here. I'm happy to make this presentation available to you because I'm obviously just skimming through it because of time. If you would like a copy of it, just let myself or James, I'll just highlight James there. James is our representative. Don't be shy, James, stand up, give a wave, let everyone see your face. You're a handsome young Englishman. He gets a bit lonely down here every now and then, so feel free to take him out for a coffee or a beer. But James is based here, so if you would like a copy, just come up and just drop your details and we can shoot it out to you. But basically with the Football Association of Malaysia, we worked with Sassy and Redcard on this. Obviously with the FAM, they had their rights were basically coming up for renewal. So Astro had purchased the rights over 4 years for a reported 30 million ringgit per year. That was coming up for renewal. Astro did a fantastic job producing Malaysian football. It was great on TV, there were lots of fans going, lots of people were watching it. Obviously, that point created a lot of competitive tension in the market, where not only Astro wanted to purchase it now, you had a number of other companies that were very interested in purchasing it. Whilst that's a fantastic opportunity, what the challenge is there is to ensure that for the Football Association of Malaysia, that they maximise their commercial value, that they get what is the fair market value. So with Sassy, with Redcard and with the FAM, we went through and valued the sponsorship and broadcast rights valuation. From that gives the FAM an understanding of what the value is, so that then when they go and negotiate the rights and go through a tender process, they've got a very good understanding of what that value is. And obviously from that they created a significant partnership with MP and Silver over a 15-year period for around 350 million US dollars. So again, when we look at valuation, the simplest way that I can explain that is that when you're selling a property, and it could be your residential property in a lovely area in any part of the world, the first thing that you do before you sell it is you value it. If you're looking at buying a property somewhere around the world, the first thing that you do is you value it. So the clearest thing I'm trying to say right now is that you can value sponsorship rights. You can value broadcast rights. There's a methodology, a structure, a framework by what you go through it. And the fact that we work in so many countries, we've got so much history, we could benchmark what a Malaysian domestic competition is versus, say, the English Premier League or the Bundesliga. We can equate and understand what the shirt sponsorship value is in, say, in Malaysia against the team in Spain, against the team in Germany, against the team in Singapore for that matter. So the whole purpose there is that it can be done. And the whole purpose of doing that is on the commercialisation side to ensure that our clients get the right commercial value for it. Another quick example, this was on the other side. Again, I'm just using football to make it a little bit coherent. This was for a sponsor, Vauxhall. So they had a partnership with the England national team. What Vauxhall wanted to do is they wanted to ensure that, first of all, they were paying the right amount. Secondly, it had the right fit for their corporate image, which is always an important one. So they wanted to determine the fit between the English FA in relation to building owner affinity, making a modern, progressive image, and employee engagement. So what we did, we used media valuation from all the previous England games, understanding of the rights cycles, we're able to forecast moving forward into the future. We also did a significant amount of consumer research looking at the demographic profile of the England football fan, their level of engagement with football, their attitudes and acceptance of sponsorship, and the outcome that Vauxhall wants. How many of these people are going to look at buying one of our cars in the next 12 months? Directly relating specifically back to a return on investment. So going through this process, they decided to renew their sponsorship with the English FA. So again, the FAM example is looking at a rights holder side. This Vauxhall one is looking at from a sponsor point of view. And for all the lawyers, I'm sure you're going to relate to this one very, very well. UEFA, financial fair play. I know, very, very interesting situation. The reason why UEFA introduced financial fair play is because they were massively concerned with the number of professional football clubs that were consistently losing money. Makes sense, doesn't it? Imagine if it was in the banking world. You had a bank that was consistently losing money. It wouldn't be around for very long. So obviously it was a sustainability play. It was looking at succession planning of the leagues. So they brought in financial fair play to obviously try and regulate that. The whole point of it was regarding third-party ownership, and the way that we worked with them was to understand the fair market value of sponsorship deals. They needed to have an understanding of the accurate sponsorship valuation, which would stand up to intense legal scrutiny. Because again, if one of the clubs like Manchester City, say for example, is told that they've got to curb their expenditure and they've got lots of money, that'll be in the courts for a very, very long time, as I'm sure you'd appreciate. So what we developed was a methodology. We went through that. We analysed all the matches, TV, online and print, in the 10 major European leagues. So every single game, every single club for the top 10 European leagues for every single brand. From that, we also conducted market research in 35 countries to understand the fans' perceptions, their awareness of sponsorship, and we were able to assign a monetary value to each brand for each club. So basically for UEFA, that provided them with an approved, standardised and systematic approach to calculate a fair presentation of value, and was accepted as basically the global currency regarding sponsorship valuation. Again, a very, very interesting project on that regard. I've got two other ones that I'll touch on really quickly. Emirates, a lot of information here, again from a sponsor, one of the biggest sponsors globally of sport and a number of different sports. I'm just going to touch on the second little project.